Okay, so in this little video we're going to have a look at updating the firmware in the Blue Nebula using the Firmware Updater app. In my case, the Blue Nebula is still running the 4.02 firmware, which was the latest version before the current release. The first thing we do is we run our Updater app and we click on the serial port list and choose the COM port which our Blue Nebula is attached, which in my case is COM3. You may have a different number in your case. If you only have one COM port, which is the Blue Nebula, it should automatically have connected. But let's click on that and our Blue Nebula will reboot, and you can see it's running the firmware 4.02. There we are on the display, Blue Nebula firmware for 4.02. Okay, now we click on the firmware update button and we have to go and find where we downloaded the firmware file, the hex file for the current firmware. So we click on that button, that opens a browser, and I'm going to find the firmware update version 5, wherever I put it. Can I remember? Let's hope so. So I happen to know it's in my F drive. You would have saved it to wherever it was convenient for yourself. And in here we have OneDrive, my OneDrive Blue Nebula stuff. Blue Nebula version 5 final, and we have firmware. I have a firmware folder, and there's my firmware. Blue Nebula 5.00 firmware.hex. So click on that, click open, and we got a warning to make sure we don't disconnect the USB cable or switch off the pedal until it has restarted. If you do, you will mess up your pedal and you'll have to repeat this procedure. But don't worry, it's not permanent. But just make sure you don't disconnect or switch off until everything has restarted. When it restarts, it should give the firmware version 5.00 if all has gone well. So click OK, and the updater says, updating firmware, please wait until your pedal restarts. So it just takes 30, 40, 50 seconds for that to happen. You can see it also says firmware file, Blue Nebula version 5.00 firmware hex. That's it done. Blue Nebula is rebooted. Did you notice? It said version 5. And that's the job done. Thanks for watching.